Hello, colleagues. This episode, with this episode, I'd like to start a series of short videos where I'm going to talk about some tools, techniques, and tricks I use when developing PowerShell-based automation. We will also look at approach we can take to build enterprise-ready automation, so to speak. At the very beginning, let's define our scenario we are going to follow during the whole video series. The scenario represents some kind of general case, and we will use it as a context for our work. We're a big company, and we just decided to expand to Azure. There are some expectations we've got from our management. First of all, we don't want to change our support organization significantly. So we want our existing teams to be able to support infrastructure in the cloud in the same way they do it today. We want to extend usage of our existing processes and tools to a new landscape, but at the same time, we don't want to lose flexibility of the cloud. We want our developers to be productive, so we need to remove as much obstacles as possible without affecting security. As part of this movement, we were tasked as a team to develop an automation toolset which can be used to automate various support tasks for the cloud-based infrastructure. As part of this video series, we will try to look at this task from various angles. As part of the general task, we were given to the following architecture guidelines. First of all, our toolset should be cross-platform and reusable. The main idea behind this requirement or behind this guideline is that this toolset could be given to any team inside of the organization. So the team will be able to provision resources, manage their infrastructure, and perform other automation tasks in a managed way. This means that the toolset itself and its counterparts in the cloud will make sure that everything that is done using this toolset follows the corporate standards. On the other hand, the toolset and the cloud-based infrastructure should follow the best practices provided for Azure. And of course, we want to get as much flexibility as possible for our development teams without breaking security, of course. So what we are going to do in general, you know, while following our scenario, we're going to start development of a PowerShell module together with you. So we're going to learn and develop throughout the video series. Uh, yeah, and in order to satisfy initial goals and the guidelines, we're going to use PowerShell Core and .NET Core for our work. As part of today's topic, as part of today's episode, we are going to build some kind of integration to a fictitious CMDB to follow naming standard. You may ask, why do we even need a naming standard? Let users use whatever they like for names and let's focus on automation parts. In general, it's okay for a system containing a relatively small number of components, meaning it's okay for a small project, say small development environment. However, when the system grows up to dozens of various resources, it becomes difficult to understand which resource is which and who uses it and what it does. When an engineer receives a ticket, a lot of questions may arise. For instance, what is the resource? What this resource is, what it does. Is it storage? Is it VM? Is it a network or some kind of a PaaS service? Is this storage account, VM, PaaS service, you name it, is a part of production or its development? Who owns this resource? Who is the owner? Whom to talk to in case something goes wrong or fails? Where to look for this resource to investigate further? When support teams gets a ticket, the first thing an engineer typically sees is a name. And having just a name of a certain well-known form, an engineer can easily identify if the resource is a part of production or development environment, who is the owner, where to look for the resource, and how to identify affected resource and affected services, and so on. In addition to that, while provisioning, we need somehow generate resource names. We simply may not know who is going to use our tool, and we don't want them reinventing your wheel. With the naming standard, we can easily do that, and everything will be uniform automatically across the whole corporate environment. This video series, however, is not about writing um, kind of a white papers or drawing boxes in Visio. Um, it's about PowerShell and Azure. So in this series, we are going to use some things and tools and techniques, and I'm going to show you how to use them. And as part of this particular episode, we are going to look at some things mentioned on the slide. Uh, I'm not going to dive deep into each of these technologies or each of these things. Um, I believe that they are more or less known to everyone, but I just want to show you how you can use such tools and techniques in your day-to-day work. We are going to quickly look at Plaster, which is a scaffolding framework for PowerShell. We will also try to work with Azure and Azure storage tables. We're going to use Plaster for tests. We're going to do some tricks um, to make parts of our code replaceable, and also try to use PowerShell classes in real life. Also, I would like to say that the way I do it is just the way I do it. And I'm maybe not 100% correct, so if you have any thoughts, please put your comment. Okay, so let's look at what we're going to do in this episode. Uh, on one hand, we're going to build a PowerShell module, which will be able to talk to some third party. We are going to try to make this part, this component that talks to the remote side, replaceable. And in case we decide to replace our CMDB provider later on, we could easily replace it. And as part of this replaceable piece, we want to put some cache, which should speed up access to the data we receive from CMDB. We will see why this is needed and how to implement this on the implementation phase. So let's start our journey.